From the studios of Foxboro Cable Access, located in the center of Foxboro, Massachusetts, you are watching Around Foxboro.
Welcome to another episode of Around Foxboro. My name is Julie Love. I'm your host today. We have our local resident here today talking about a little bit different subject, but very close to a family member. Without the further notice, we want to introduce our guest. So we have Heather Koneska. Heather, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks, Sherry.
Yes. So tell us about why you are here today, and then what we're going to talk about. I know it's very close to your heart, and then one of your family member. So would you mind to tell us?
Sure. So I'm here to talk about one of my favorite things, which is my firstborn child, Andrew. He was born with a very rare chromosome deletion called Phelan McDermid syndrome.
Yes. So I met Andrew, obviously, and Andrew and my son goes to karate together. You guys, you have two other children. Can you tell us about the two other children?
Yes. So Andrew has a younger sister named Elise. She is 14 years old. And he has a younger brother named Silas, who is 9 years old.
Mm-hmm. And then, so I was privileged to write an article about you and Andrew before.
Yeah, thank you.
So people who don't know about the Phelan McDermid syndrome, would you please tell us a little bit more in depth?
Yeah, so Phelan McDermid syndrome is a deletion on the 22nd chromosome. And I'm not a scientist, but it's in the 13th quadrant, I think, of the 22nd chromosome. So there are parents can be a carrier of Phelan McDermid syndrome by having some of their chromosomes translocated. Andrew's father and I are not carriers of Phelan McDermid syndrome, so this was just an anomaly that happened, mutation that happened to the genes when he was born, and so it affects every part of his body. Having this piece of his chromosome missing affects every part of his body. So he has some medical issues, he has some cognitive delays, he is 16, he's completely nonverbal, he doesn't use the toilet, he needs help showering, feeding, he's on a very special diet, he goes to a special school.
Yes. So when you were pregnant, did you notice something, or did doctor tell you about some condition?
So we did not know when we were pregnant that there was anything out of the ordinary with Andrew. And although we had a somewhat complicated labor and delivery, we still did not know, and actually did not find out about Phelan McDermid syndrome until Andrew was almost 3 years old. He did develop slowly as a child, but he always hit all of his milestones. So he hit them all just at the kind of far end of his milestones. He was very sick as a child, but again, not so sick that we were seeing a lot of specialists. So we were at the pediatrician's office quite frequently, and so when we found out that he had Phelan McDermid syndrome, a lot of things started to make sense to us. So he was in early intervention, and we did know that there was something not right, but we weren't sure what that was.
So you said 3 years old, so between 0 to 3, was he diagnosed with something else?
Yeah, so when he was almost 2 years old, he was diagnosed with PDD-NOS, which is like a form of autism. And so he has carried that diagnosis with him throughout his life. He does have autism, but Phelan McDermid syndrome is the cause of the autism.
Okay. And then how rare is this syndrome?
So I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that when Andrew was diagnosed in 2005, 2006, there were 500 people worldwide who carried the diagnosis of this syndrome, and now there are about 2,500 people worldwide, which is still extremely rare. So that's in the entire world who have been diagnosed. But there's been so many revolutionary things that have happened in genetics, so people are able to be diagnosed who were never diagnosed before. So I know that there are many adults who have had this syndrome their entire life who are just putting a name to it now because we haven't had the technology before for them to get a diagnosis.
Sure. And then so I know there's a website that people can learn more about it. So I just want to introduce it right now. It's www.pmsf.org. So what does that stand for? Is that Phelan?
Phelan McDermid Syndrome Foundation.
Foundation.org. So it's PMSF.
Yes.
.org that
Yes.
people can learn more about it.
Yes.
Yes. So I think one of the challenge as a mother, like I am a mother of two, that when your child is sick and don't know like what direction to take, and then when the doctor says one thing after another, maybe potentially this and that, how difficult was it for you guys to find out about Phelan-McDermid syndrome like, finally at age 3?
How difficult was it to find out about the syndrome or
yeah.
about how to treat Andrew?
Well, no, my question was basically how did you find a conclusion that I think maybe not so many doctors may have heard of this, or was that like a straight shot?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. So we got the diagnosis for PDD-NOS, and I wasn't really. We were on a waiting list to see several specialists at that time, and so when we got the diagnosis for PDD-NOS, we remained on the waiting list because I thought more eyes on him the better. So we went to see a developmental pediatrician, and the developmental pediatrician took a look at Andrew and said, yes, he definitely does have autism, but I see something else going on here. And now she hadn't treated anybody with Phelan-McDermid syndrome, but she had read some articles on it and ordered some testing based on the medical articles that she had read, and it came back, positive that he had that syndrome.
Yeah, I think that is the most difficult thing, as finding out this rare disease, especially when Andrew was diagnosed. It was only 500 people,
right.
Diagnosed in the entire world. Like, how can all the doctors know about it, right? So
right.
The article that she read
yes.
was very, rare chance, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. And so we have been extremely blessed because a lot of we're close to Boston, and a lot of the doctors that we see actually have several cases. A lot of the specialists that we see actually see several other patients with Phelan-McDermid syndrome in the New England area. So, and of course, they're always reading literature and keeping up with.
So, do you have support group of like the same syndrome, that like mothers group, or like some, somewhere that maybe Facebook or something that you can share information?
Yeah.
with?
So there's an excellent support group on Facebook. That's a private support group. Only family members can join that group, and that's been an excellent source of support and for asking questions. Katie Phelan is also another source of support. So she's, the syndrome is named after her, and she is so just puts herself out to be reachable for questions, whether it's from parents or from doctors, and just has a wealth of information over her studies over the years. And then we have regional groups. So we have a region in New England of different parents, and we get together throughout the year and reach out to one another and talk about different learning opportunities that there are.
Who's Katie Phelan?
So Katie Phelan is what the Phelan part of Phelan-McDermid syndrome, and she discovered the syndrome. I do not know how many years ago, but she's the one that discovered it. I did ask her, how did you discover this deletion? And she said she looked under a microscope and saw the deletion. So with another doctor, wrote a paper on Phelan-McDermid syndrome, and so the deletion is named after her.
Wow. So you actually met her or talked to her?
Yeah, so we had a regional conference a few months ago, and she came to the conference. She actually does go to most of the conferences that are held all over the world. She tries to attend most of them.
Wow. So do you have any local mothers who you can talk to through this group, or do you know anybody that you can physically meet and get support from?
Yes, we do. You can imagine the logistics of trying to get several children, high needs children, together to meet. So it's not always a possibility for us to meet face to face, but always available through the internet, through Facebook and Messenger. And yeah.
Do you know the Facebook page name that you can share?
I do, but it is a private group, so it's.
But when people are reaching out and then trying to get help, then people can look it up, and just put Phelan McDermid syndrome.
So it's
Facebook.
actually 22q13 deletion syndrome is our group name, because that is the actual deletion of the the chromosome that's deleted.
So that's on the Facebook page. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So can you please tell us what kind of challenges that do you face with this syndrome with Andrew? You kind of mentioned about feeding and then different verbal and stuff, but
yeah. So Andrew's
day-to-day.
16. So the day-to-day stuff is pretty much part of our ordinary life. We've just gotten adjusted to it, and of course, my other kids help out tremendously with that. I think some of the biggest challenges for us have been medical complications. And so Andrew can go through very long periods of time where he's very medically stable, and then sometimes things change and we're in the hospital frequently or needing to call 911 frequently, and those can be really scary times and really impact my other kids as well. So that has been one of the biggest challenges for us. As far as we're just like every other family. We go and do everything together. We're out in the community all the time. We're very active. Andrew has his own interests and his own activities, just like my other kids do. So he gets along with his brother and sister, and they fight, and they get along, and they fight just like every other, sibling.
Yeah, no, I've seen you volunteering at when we had a blackout, when we lost the power at the Taylor. I saw you volunteering with all your children and Andrew, and I was like, wow, it's amazing that how much that you are still able to be involved in the community despite the challenge that you have.
Yeah, so Andrew is definitely an extrovert, so he really enjoys it when we're out in the community and around other people. So we try to do that quite frequently.
What are the things that Andrew likes to do?
Right now, he really likes horseback riding. So he's
horseback
been
riding?
doing horseback riding.
Oh.
He goes horseback riding in Canton. He absolutely loves it. He loves to swim. Swimming is one of his favorite things to do. He loves to read books, picture books, and have books read to him. He loves to play practical jokes on people.
That's wonderful. So I know when I wrote an article, we talked about Feeling Lucky.
Yes.
Can you please tell us about it?
Yes, I can tell you what I know. So Phelan Lucky is a campaign. It's a huge fundraiser that's run every year. It raises a lot of money for the foundation, which is fantastic. And just want you to understand that the money that goes into the foundation, most of the money, I believe, goes into research. So, and research is coming such a long way in treating our kids and helping our kids. So the Phelan Lucky campaign is this fantastic campaign that one of the moms came up with, where she designs shirts every year that say Phelan Lucky, and she sells them, I think, between January and February, and then everybody's supposed to wear them on St. Patrick's Day in March. And what she does is she asks celebrities to wear them for her, and she posts on social media for the Phelan Lucky campaign, and it just raises awareness as well as money. So people who were never aware of Phelan McDermid syndrome before have the opportunity to learn about it and become aware of it.
Yes. So how are you involved with the campaign sometimes? Like, do you tell people to buy a shirt, or do you wear it? Like, how do you?
Oh yeah, both. So I ask, and I like to buy shirts for people too. So his providers, his teachers, everybody gets a shirt to wear as a Teacher Appreciation Day comes up. But I would love it if some of our local celebrities would get involved and buy a shirt and wear a shirt. And actually, even if they don't want to buy a shirt, I know that she will send sometimes she'll send some shirts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually received one.
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually a really cute design. I really like it.
Yeah.
So just to bring awareness so that people would know more about the syndrome and then would help the research.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I know we kind of talked about the challenge, but what do you think your perspective kind of had changed after having to find this very rare genetic disorder and then having this community and then raising Andrew as a wonderful young man? What do you think it kind of shifted or changed your perspective as a person?
Yeah.
A mother?
So when I was younger, I actually had some friends who worked with some adults who had autism, and I actually said, I can be a mom of any child but a child with autism. I could never raise a child who had autism. And then had a child who had autism, and actually when Andrew was younger and was involved in the special needs community, and I met another mom whose son was very medically fragile. And so I said, oh yeah, I can totally deal with having a child with autism, but I can never have a child who is medically fragile. And then Andrew had a host of medical problems, and I learned that I can raise a child who has autism, and I can raise a child who is medically fragile, and it doesn't have to define our life. So he has these complications to his life. Everybody has complications to their life. So we've found out that it's just, we don't have to make it bigger than what it is in our life. We just have learned how to manage it.
Yes, absolutely. So do you feel like you have enough support from the town of Foxboro and then the people around community and stuff for you?
Yeah, so we've had an amazing amount of support. At the karate studio, they've been very supportive.
Karate. Yes, absolutely.
Our church is very supportive. Andrew is sometimes not easy. He yells a lot. He's very loud. He has outbursts. And our church family has just been phenomenal about making him a part of the family. We have some support with the state has come in and helped us with some support. And I would love to see everybody in Foxboro buying a Phelan Lucky shirt. That would be fantastic.
That's absolutely,
Yeah.
great. And then how about the state, is a particular agency?
So the Department of Developmental Services has come alongside us and helped a lot with making sure that Andrew has everything that he needs to remain in the home with us.
So you can reach out to the department or apply online or something?
Yes.
If you need a service?
Yes.
How does it work?
So typically the Department of Developmental Services is for adults age 22 and over.
Okay.
However, they do have some other programs. I know they have an autism waiver that goes up until age 8, and they do have some other family support programs. And so that can be found through DDS online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So we are close to our time. So is there anything, the last word that you want to share with our audience about Phelan McDermid syndrome, and then anything information-wise, and then anything that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I just want to say that my son is such a joy to me, and he brings so much joy into my life, and we are so blessed to have him in our life. We all, like I said earlier, we all have challenges in our lives, but he is such a special part of our life.
Yes. So despite of this rare disease, he's doing very well, and it brought you a lot of joy.
Yes.
Yes. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your personal experience and this information about Phelan McDermid syndrome. And then again, the website is pmsf.org.
Yes.
So if people want to find out more, they can go visit the website. Yes, wonderful. So thank you very much, Heather, again,
Thanks,
for
Jerry.
Thank you for coming
me.
to our show today. So we have Deb Wendell and Deb Stores behind the camera, and then Paul Beck as our director, and Michael Weber as our executive director and producer of Around Foxboro. My name is Julie Love. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again.